You know what sound that is. That's time for another Tuesday Noon Whistle. I'm Chris Trottier.
And I'm John Anzalone. And today our guests are Elkhorn Area School District Superintendent Jason Tadlock. Hello. And Elkhorn Area School District Business Manager Bill Trewyn. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for having us.
All right. Well, we're going to talk today about referendum, give a little context to the state of Wisconsin's budget, and talk about the Elkhorn Area School District. So I'll throw this first question out. We did a little research at the Noon Whistle, always trying to be fair and balanced and accurate. So we in our research, John and I discovered that, including us, 90 school districts will be going to operational referendum this school year. And I guess I'll throw it to you first, Jason. How did our state arrive at that position where so many districts are seeking a need for additional operating dollars?
Yeah, well, in the last biennium budget, as we were entering COVID, the state legislature gave $0 to revenue limit increases. And this chart that you have up here is derived from a report from the Legislative Fiscal Bureau. And it shows in light gray, or the bars are the inflationary impacts, or CPI, over the years, going all the way back to 1993. But inflation indexing stopped in 2008 and 9. The dark bars are what the state provided for revenue limit increases. So you can see the last biennium, the state gave $0. The Elkhorn Area School District, that impact of not keeping up with inflationary costs since 08-09 has been roughly $11.5 million. So this is something that's happened all over the state. That's why you see just this year alone, 90 districts needing to go to ask communities to increase their revenue limits to keep up with inflation. It's that simple.
Yeah, I think there's probably three reasons, and I think Jason really hit upon the main reason, and that is the allowable increase in our revenue cap, which kind of controls our spending as a public school district. That simply hasn't kept pace with the consumer price index. That, compounded by the inflationary impact that I think we're all seeing here, not only as a school district, but personally in all phases of our operation. And we had some federal monies that we could use, but those were one-time dollars, and those dollars are really going to be exhausted soon.
So, question to bounce off of that. With the state reviewing the next biennium budget, could an increase in state funding change the referendum complexion, or the proposed referendum?
Yeah, I think it possibly could. The state budget is a journey, and that started here in February when the governor, presented his budget as part of a budget address. And now the legislature is going through their process, and Joint Finance Committee will be doing a number of hearings, and they will either rewrite the budget, they'll modify it, or come up with their own version. And eventually that'll get to a point where a budget will be, presented and developed probably June, July, and it could be later. So how does that impact us? As we were projecting and putting together the referendum, we were somewhat conservative, but we were hoping for funding level of around $200 per student increase in funding each year. Now, the last biennium budget didn't allow any increases, but if you go back previously to that, it was about $200 a year, which is about a 1.9% increase in allowable expenses. Certainly, there's been some acknowledgement, I think, at all levels that school funding needs to be addressed through the state budget. I think a report came out through the U.S. Census Bureau that indicated that from 2002, we ranked like number 11 nationally in terms of funding for schools. And by 2020, we ranked 25th. And that doesn't even include the last biennium where we had zero increase. So I think there's an opportunity, certainly, for some additional funding. I think we've heard some talk in Madison about that. I think the other detail, too, is what's being asked is the public to provide an opportunity so that our school board has the authority to exceed the revenue cap by a certain dollar amount, $6 million. But it doesn't require the school board to do that. And I think our school board, depending on what the state budget ultimately becomes, will reevaluate that based on the needs of the district and the ability of our taxpayers to pay. So
Certainly, going back to the first question that Chris asked, that we're not alone in this, with us, including us, 50 other districts that have gone to referendum or are going to referendum is, I don't know,
Yeah.
shocking.
And that's just the spring that, including the fall numbers, that's 90. And then a lot of school districts, a similar number, I believe, went last year. And,
Okay.
are facing the same circumstance. And so piggybacking off what Bill said in that question, it doesn't change our referendum question. The question's fixed. We have to lock that in back in January, 90 days prior to the election. But as Bill mentioned, that's just establishing a new revenue limit for the next 5 years. That doesn't mean that's a limit. That's like the high end mark. It doesn't mean that the board will go up to that amount. And we're not projecting that they will need to go up to that amount until year 3, 4, or 5, under what we projected. But obviously, if the state budget comes back better than we projected, that's less of that new revenue limit that we would need to go into.
So Jason, I'm hearing you say that this, well, first of all, this is a non-reoccurring referendum, which means it's a 5-year referendum, whereas other districts of those 90 have gone to reoccurring referendums, which go beyond a fixed date. I'm hearing you say that this dollar amount is $6 million per year if needed.
Correct. If needed, it's a limit. And, right now in our current revenue limit, we do use all of our revenue limit, but this would give an additional higher revenue limit amount that we don't anticipate needing, I believe, in our projections until that 3rd year, the full amount, I believe. Bill can correct me if I'm wrong, but and if the budget comes back better, that may extend, that out further.
So this really drives at, which I think the local legislatures in our state of Wisconsin's always embraced, local control.
Absolutely. They and some legislators are very adamant that they don't want to increase revenue limits at all. Others, they're okay with increasing revenue limits, but if schools need more, what many of them agree on is that the communities need to go to vote, and that they've put that control into the hands of our community members.
So
go ahead.
if the referendum doesn't pass, what are some possible impacts, or what would that impact be if it doesn't pass?
Yeah, do you want to speak to that first, Bill? Or
Yeah, well, the needs don't change. So my guess is we'll have to reevaluate if it doesn't, if it isn't successful, well, why? And I think our school board will take a hard look at that to see, what we can do. We will likely need to look at our budget in terms of how we're spending, even more so. I think one of the other things too is there'll be another opportunity in terms of potential referendum, which that wouldn't be, there's no fall election this year. So in odd years, that's the way the elections work. So the soonest we could go back would be April of 24. And certainly I think as we look at our projections, and depending what happens at the state level, we're still going to have a need that we're going to have to address with the public.
Yeah, and I think I would add to that. Some people may have seen, other districts or surrounding districts when they ran into financial issues in the last 5 years, and they needed referendums to support their operation costs. When those referendums weren't initially supported, or prior to them being able to get those referendums, they had to do significant reductions in their staffing. However, in several of those cases, those districts were significantly down in their student enrollments. We're not down in our student enrollments. Our student enrollment, our head count continues to go up year after year. We don't have that flexibility to look at reducing staff or using attrition. We've kind of used that already. So like Bill said, I think we'll have to go back to the drawing board, revisit it the following year, but those needs don't go away. We are in a good financial position with our reserves and so forth. But if we have to expend those, then we'll be back into where we have to short-term borrow or get a credit line for cash flow purposes, and then we'll be paying interest again. And it does have a longer-term impact on that.
So beyond, we've been focusing the majority of this noon whistle on question number one, but there's a second question. And just to educate the public on the second question, Jason, do you want to talk a little bit about ballot question 2?
Yeah, ballot question 2 was proposed, and this is a recurring dollar amount. I appreciate you bringing that up, Chris. It's for $500,000, which would give us the additional revenue that we would need to basically make the 4-year-old kindergarten teachers Elkhorn area school district employees, and it would give additional resources to those 4K programs. Currently, we outsource the 4-year-old kindergarten to 3 local daycare centers or preschool centers. They do a fantastic job. That does not change that relationship. It just provides additional resources so that we can pay those teachers a competitive wage, hopefully retain them, and keep those high quality teachers in the classroom within our 4-year-old kindergarten program, where currently the dollar amount that we have for 4K and allocated doesn't allow those teachers in those centers to be able to compensate them at that competitive wage that our other teachers and members of the Elkhorn area school district enjoy. So we do see quite a bit of turnover, movement to other positions as a result of that.
And we know that our families are always looking for additional opportunities for daycare, for 4K to ensure, and the research is also there behind on the impact it has on kids. So sounds to me like, it's obviously a community investment. Anything else you guys wanted to touch base on with regards to the referendum, as we move closer to our April election date? We've showed the viewers both questions. They will both be on the ballot, but anything else that we haven't covered here that you'd like to bring up?
We have a website with lots of information, facts and questions on there as well. And if they want to dive into that, I'd encourage them to go to that. We do have a future community forum if people want to attend that. That is scheduled for March 20th. I believe, and we have a mailer that's coming out that'll provide information, but don't hesitate to give either Bill or myself a call, invite us to a community group or organization or a group of friends. If you want us to come and speak to it, we're happy to do so.
Yeah, thanks. Jason, I believe the March 20th starts at 6:30 in the high school auditorium. Is that correct?
Sounds right.
Okay.
And on the website that Jason mentioned, you'll see this presentation, which is the one we were using to guide us in this noon whistle, which, by the way, John, this is the first time we've embedded a presentation into our live stream.
Yeah, that kind of goes back to you and your techie. You nailed it on this one.
Yeah, I even got a background, so hopefully I don't get any continued comments on our noon whistle about my background. So
right. No, it was good. No, thank you, Jason. Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it. If there's anything else you want to add, otherwise we kind of move into that being thankful arena where we try to thank someone, an organization, somebody, whatever it might be, before we sign off. You want me to go first, Chris, or you want to go first?
I think you should, John. Keep it going.
Yeah, way to go. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Voluntold. I am going to thank a guy that I continually see week after week after week around the community, David Dresdo, for capturing all of Elkhorn all the time. I'm just amazed at he gets it all, and he's just capturing so many memories for so many families in the community, in the school district. So thank you, David. Great work.
I'm going to thank, it's the March Madness is upon us, and I want to thank all, doesn't matter, not just winter, but fall, winter, and spring coaches, and Mr. John Handel, the athletic director, because the amount of time that those people, that all of them put in on a day-to-day, minute-to-minute throughout the calendar, probably ends up being about 50 cents an hour. And the amount of input and feedback they receive is also regular. And I just want to thank them for all their efforts in investing in kids and making sure our co-curriculars continue to be successful. Jason, you're up.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that because I was thinking of our club advisors right along lines in that same thought. The opportunities and access they give to our kids, whether it's HOSA, FCCLA, DECA, the powerlifting club. I've seen amazing things, amazing results from the students. And I want to give a shout out to the powerlifting club. I lead the girls one state this last week. And thanks to their advisors for creating the knockoff Hey Dude loafers there. I got my pair and they are a dream. They may be ugly, but they're super comfy. So next time.
Did you take that off your current foot? Like, did you pop that off your foot?
I popped that off my foot. Yep.
But they're that easy to take on and off, Jason. That's why you should buy them.
They just, they're boom. It's there. I'd go with it.
I thought you had a little hop in your step today.
Oh, they're like walking on a cloud.
And your office smells like Fritos, but other than that, so. Bill, you're up.
Well, I tell you, since we're talking finance and referendums and such, I really need to give a shout out to my business office staff and the work that Melissa and Robin and Tracy and Erica do here each and every day. It's not always seen here, but it's certainly greatly appreciated, especially in my role. And I just want to thank them and all the work they do here on behalf of the kids here in our community.
And thank you guys for all the work you do too. And thanks for taking time today to share your information with us. Really appreciate it.
John, before we close, should we announce we got something scrolling on the bottom of the ticker? Do you want to tell everybody what's happening this Friday?
Oh, Super Friday. We have a special guest, an extra noon whistle episode, and Governor Evers is going to join us on Friday at noon. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, very excited. So we're looking forward to having him on to talk to you and I and tell his journey from educator to governor. So on that note, thank you everybody for viewing. Thanks for the likes and viewership, and
have a good one.
Thank you guys.